What's up, guys? What is up? Good evening. Happy Tuesday. Guys, is it Friday yet? I don't know. I wish it was, guys. Hey, I see you guys tuning in on Twitch. I see you tuning in on YouTube, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in as we get into another live episode, raw, uncut, unedited, of Comfort in Chaos podcast. We got a special one today, team. We got a special one today. I bet you're reading that title and you're like, WTF. WTF, right? Yeah, that's what I said. I didn't come up with it. But there's a story behind that. We're going to get into that tonight, guys. We're going to get into some really cool stuff. Thank you guys for coming in. As you know, team, there is power in presence. Always remember that. And you guys are demonstrating that this evening, so thank you all for tuning in. And if you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like button. Give a nice little pound on that subscribe button, and welcome to the team. We do this every Tuesday, every Thursday, 8:30 Central Standard Time, team. And we have a good time. The chat line is open. Please, guys, don't hesitate to interact on the chat lines. I do have observation. And I look forward to engaging with you guys. And as we get into topics tonight, or feel free, share your input, share your experiences, and then we'll rock and roll. What do you guys say? Let's do it. What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday. That's right. Tuesday, February 27th. All right? No, it's not Friday. It's not Friday. I hope you guys had some tacos today. I didn't, because, you know, my physical readiness and mental readiness is more important. So I hope you guys earned those tacos. All right, guys. Hey, welcome. As you know, you can already see I got another empty seat, you know. It's okay. We got a special guest host today. All right. But I'm going to get more into that here in a bit. We're gonna be discussing a lot of good stuff today, team. I'm looking forward to it. Most importantly, team, as you know, I look forward to your guys' engagement. Chat boxes are open, so please, by all means, interact, engage. Let's learn, and let's just have a good time from each other. You know, so as you know, throughout the broadcast, I will occasionally refer to the chat box, and so if you guys have any input to share, hey, I'm going to go ahead and reference that. And if you got any questions for my guest, feel free, enter them in the chat box as well as we continue on through the episode. All right. Okay, team. So quick little PCCs, PCIs. You know we always start every episode with that. So, of course, we got our discipline devotional book right here, which I got a nice little read for you guys today. We got our Comfort in Chaos tea, nice and cold for me. And, of course, you know, our little can of chinos. We cannot go anywhere without our can of chinos. Yes, you guys know that, right? Sir, yes, sir. Okay, that's what I like to hear. All right, team. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's get this. What do you guys say we go ahead and get started? You know, I want to give as much time to my guest host today. And we're going to go ahead and start off with our discipline devotional, team. All right. As you know, there's always a little bit of here that we take away from this. All right. There's always a little bit you can take away and apply to your own life, you know. And remember, you don't have to be, just because I'm in the military doesn't mean everything we discuss here, you guys, is literally applied to all of us individually. All right. And I encourage you guys to do just that. And so as we engage this, we're going to go into this quick little discipline devotional. Today's topic is the person you can control. All right. Now, I want you guys to listen to this, find a little piece that you can take away and apply to yourself. All right. And then we'll just do a quick little discussion at the end, and then I'll bring in my special guest. What do you guys say? Okay. Onward. Here we go. The person you can't control, team. People are not who you want them to be. Kill your idols. Sure, there are things we can learn from people, but people aren't going to be what you think they are. what they should be. People, even those people you have put up on a pedestal are going to be faulted, weak, condescending. They're going to be lazy, entitled, short-sighted. They will not be perfect. In fact, far from it. That's fine. Learn from their weaknesses. Of course, learn from their strengths and mimic and copy them in what they do well. But equally as important, learn from their faults. See what not to do. Because you can't control other people. You can't make them what you want them to be. You can't make them who you want them to be. The only person you can control is you. So focus on making yourself who you want to be. Faster, stronger, smarter, more humble, less ego. Discipline your body, free your mind, get up early, and go. Get after it, and you will become the person you want to be. And you become that person through one small decision at a time. Boom. What do you guys think? That's right. Thank you for that applause. Thank you for that applause. No, it's absolutely true, guys. We live in a time right now where, we've discussed this on previous episodes, but we live in a time and age where outside influences tend to be the strong suit of a lot of people's lives. And I'm not saying this is your guys' life, but this is just, we tend to live in an era where literally outside elements can literally manipulate people's actions, and we're actually going to talk about that in this episode. We're going to open up with that. But that is something that, guys, in fact, don't lose sight of those outside elements, but don't let them control you. In fact, you can learn from them. Learn what not to be, learn what to understand, and then, of course, learn what to engage. As a team leader during my upbringing, I've always learned that, hey, you have to study your enemy, know their strengths, know their weaknesses, know what they like, know what they hate, because all of that is going to be vital to dictate your future actions. So you can take that same application now. Obviously, you're not going to go and obtain no enemies in your daily life. If you hate the mailman, don't go throwing rocks and engaging the mailman. But no, learn them, understand them. Don't just brush them off, and don't just take everything with a strong suit. Don't just take everything, and just roll with it. No, you're an individual thinker, and you can think accordingly and execute on your own, guys. All right. So just that was my takeaway, and I hope you guys got some benefit from that. And then we're going to go ahead and get onward with the episode. All right, team. So I got an empty chair here. All right. I got an empty chair here. Now, a lot of you have engaged me in the past and have continually to engage me, on the Bros with Mike's stigma that I tend to sit in. All right. Now, I'm not about that. All right. I'm a team here. If you notice, I use the word team a lot. I don't call you fam. I say team because we are a team, and I am about bringing in everybody, anybody, because you can learn from experiences and knowledge and skill sets that every single one of you have to offer. And my guest host today definitely has that. I tried to schedule my guest host previously, but her people just didn't want to work well with my people. And in turn, we got a contract deal settled finally. So we had to send a Bugatti, straight from Saudi Arabia, and then like 100 cases of O'Doul's. And it was a weird request, but we ended up making it happen. Okay, team. So I appreciate you guys' patience. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in my special guest host, a Master Sergeant in the United States Air Force. All right, a Master Sergeant. That is the equivalent to my rank, but in a whole different echelon. All right. And not only is a Master Sergeant, but we're talking about 12 plus years of service, serving her country, is a senior leader in the Air Force. And I'm looking forward to learning from that. And as well, the job is a very a very skillful job, that not a lot of people volunteer for, but not a lot of people also tend to neglect because it's very important. Commanders need to pay attention to this job, especially us, whenever we go overseas, and we're going to get into this here in a bit. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring Master Sergeant United States Air Force, a.k.a. Rachel, my good friend. Let's go. Put on that headset. Let's get a round of applause, team. There you go. There you go. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Here, let me, there we go.
Can you hear me?
Set. There you go.
This too big headset.
I know, team. Hey, she was doing our sound check, guys. She was making fun of my little headset there.
Not making fun of it, criticizing. Constructive criticism, that's what we call it, right?
Well, I thank you for coming on here. As you know, there's tend to be this little stigma that I'm all about the bros with mics, which is false. I want to show you guys there's a lot of, it's not just about male military leaders. There's a lot of good leaders in the military that are also female as well. And I'm going to bring more in here, team, and definitely a lot more and more to come. But, Rach, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little about yourself?
Okay. So I am in the Air Force Reserves, actually, and I've been in what's called an Active Guard Reserve or AGR position for the last 3.5 years. But I have 12 total years of service. So I did the traditional reserve route first, out of a deployment several years ago. I got hired into this Active Guard Reserve position, and I'm kind of doing the best of both worlds right now, active and reserve, and traveling a lot. I was gone a lot last year and getting ready to leave again. So it's been an interesting career field. But I do CBRN. So my actual AFSC is a 3 Echo 9 or emergency management, but more commonly known as CBRN. So,
Can you remind some of the people what does AFSC stand for?
Oh, so AFSC is Air Force Specialty Code. It's the equivalent to the Army MOS.
MOS,
which I don't quite know what that stands for.
Yeah, military operational specialty.
Okay, thank you. So yes, my AFSC is equivalent to your MOS, and my 3E9 is equivalent to, I think it's your...
skill identifier.
Yeah, but it's like your 64 Deltas, I think, are your CBRN people. Your CBRN specialists, I think is the right word. So
74 Deltas.
74 Deltas.
Yeah,
Thank
74
you.
Deltas.
Gosh, I should know that being on a joint base. But
yeah,
here we are.
You should.
So I do a lot of the CBRN side. I also do the emergency management, program management, installation planning side. It's a lot of everything. The main difference with the Army is I know y'all do a lot of like the ground reconnaissance or like vehicle reconnaissance mainly, and then we do a lot of the ground stuff and the installation protection.
Now I remember back many moons ago I went to a course, CBRN defense course. Probably one of the most scariest courses I've ever been to, because it definitely lets you know the potential that can be out there if it was like a worst case scenario thing, and all from a nuclear attack to all the reactive measures that go with following a CBRN attack, basically,
Yeah, depending on where you got it too.
Yeah, that
and
is
the instructor.
True. That is true. But no, and it was then I came to a reality check that it was like, okay, I'm glad we have a 74 Delta assigned to our company, because I'm like, dude, you never know, man. And every time we went overseas, you just never know what new toy the enemy's going to bust out. You just don't know what they're going to play with.
Oh yeah.
Although wearing all that gear in the desert's never fun.
Or in Texas, it's hot enough here too.
Or in Texas.
We all know last summer was hot enough. It was what, like 10 weeks over 100 degrees here.
It's supposed to like drop down to like 59 or something like that here in like next 2 days or something like that.
Jeez, I'm
Texas
here for
weather. Texas weather. But okay, so in your job, throughout your career, were you ever like, I don't know how the breakdown is in the Air Force, but did you have like in the Army we have platoons? Did you ever have like a platoon you were in charge of, or like a squad leader position that you had to hold?
So ours is more so the Air Force doesn't really have the platoons. How big is your platoon? Let's start with that.
So it's different, obviously now, I'm coming from a platoon that was about 15,
Okay.
and now I'm about to take over a detachment as a first sergeant. And that's about 140.
Okay. So your platoon is roughly the equivalent of an Air Force flight.
Okay.
But the main difference with platoons versus flights is the way the Air Force is broken down. Our flights are everyone in our specific career field. So like the 3E9, all the emergency managers are in a flight. And then each flight, belongs to a squadron. And the squadron is 13 different jobs of all those people.
Oh.
And then the squadron falls under a group and then a wing. So the easiest way I break it down to the
I see.
non-military person or, my family, is if you look at, let's say Amazon, let's look at like a corporation like Amazon.
Okay.
So Amazon has regional, corporate offices, right?
Yeah.
So you look at those as the Air Force major commands or the MAJCOMs. And then if you take those regional offices and you break that down to probably divisions or maybe states, maybe a region is 5 states. You break that down to the base level, which would be the regional office. And then you break that down further. And let's say you take an actual like Amazon building. That building could be looked at as a wing.
Okay.
So that would be like an Air Force wing. And then in that Air Force wing, you're going to have like your finance. You're going to have your logistics.
Who support just that wing?
Yeah. Who support just that wing or that Amazon building. So you're going to have finance. You're going to have logistics. You're going to have, maintenance for the Amazon trucks or the planes, the maintenance group. So you're going to have FSS, which is the financial support squadron, falls under the mission support group. So, their whole
Are they
job.
civilians for you guys?
No, they are reserve because I'm at a reserve wing, so it's reservists on ADOS or long-term orders.
Really?
Yes, but
so for us, it's civilians.
We're a bit of a hybrid.
Yeah.
But that is tough.
Yeah, it's tough. But I didn't mean to interrupt. But
no, you're
continue.
fine. Gosh, now I'm gonna lose my train of thought.
No.
Okay, so you've got the Amazon corporate office, and underneath the support group or the mission support group, the MSG. You've got like the people that make sure you get paid. You've got security forces or building security. You've got CE, civil engineering, which is the squadron I fall under, and then I'm in a flight underneath that. So you've got the people that keep the lights on, that fix things, that do the emergency evacuation plans. That's one of the things I do. And then you've got. Gosh, put me on the spot, man.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I mean, you could stop it.
No, I'm trying to.
You kind of gave me the
explain it.
breakdown,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like the same thing for us, but where you have your code comm elements, throughout the regions, and then from there you have your division elements, and then from there it breaks down to your brigades, and then from there it breaks down to your battalions, and then breaks down like literally it's the hierarchy's there, but you guys just have them. It's a wing, and it goes down to like. So for all these different names,
right.
Which I'm sure in the Navy it's the same thing. They have different names as well, but it's the same breakdown. From a fleet to all of these different sections.
Yeah.
So, well, that's pretty cool. So now, have you ever had to be in charge of your own team?
Yes, I've been the flight chief, essentially, or the superintendent of my flight for about 3 years now. So when I moved to this position. And I moved down here to Texas to take the active reserve position I'm in. I actually became the flight chief as a really, really young tech sergeant.
Oh, wow.
Because of the spot I was filling, not because I had the rank. There were people there that had more seniority in the same rank, but because I was filling that certain spot on the roster, I was technically
you have
superior.
More authority.
Yeah.
We have a saying too in the Army. A position has more authority than rank. So like in an example, if I'm running a range and I have a CLS or a medic who is in charge of like the overall safety of that range, and that medic happens to be an E4, that means even an 06 has to come up on that range and they have to listen to that E4 who's like, hey, sir, I need you to stand behind this line. I need you to put on ear pro, eye pro, gloves, and so forth, because they're in that position of authority.
Very true.
So in the Army we have that. So that makes sense in your case as well. Now, do you guys have like evals? You know, like you have like evals as senior enlisted. Do you guys have to have like evals annually?
Well, I
Like a
mean,
rating scale or a rating
yeah.
scheme? Like you're competing against your peers too?
I
Or,
imagine it's not the same as EPRs for y'all or EPBs. So enlisted performance report was what we used to have.
okay.
And it just changed last year to enlisted performance. Gosh, I don't know what the B stands for, but it went from like a bullet format to like, short little bullet statements to narrative. So now everyone's using Chat GPT to write their stuff.
Oh, geez.
But, yeah, so I think it's every year for me as an
Army,
AGR.
don't change. Keep it bullets. Army, if anyone in the Pentagon's listening, please keep it the bullets. We're good.
Honestly, the narrative is a little better, but
No, I don't need it.
it just depends on how you think, I guess, how you're wired.
That's too many to review.
But we do have it annually for AGRs like me.
Okay.
But again, I'm looking at everything from an Air Force Reserve perspective, and it's different from active duty. But I've learned what the differences are and how to talk to them.
Yeah.
So
I mean, technically, you're active duty now. You know, just for a contract.
It's just super chill. It's
Yeah.
super chill.
Yeah, that's definitely. Do you ever feel like are you guys kind of looked down upon by active duty Air Force?
As like reservists?
Yeah. As
100%.
Really?
I mean, there's a stigma. I don't know how it is with the Army Reserve versus active duty Army, but with the Air Force, active duty versus Air Force Reserves, there's like two very drastic sides of the scale. There's like, you'll have your reservists that show up that do that job on the outside, and they know what they're talking about. Like, they know their shit, and they are like, you can tell when you talk to them, you're like, wow, this person truly knows the content of what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other hand, you've got the extremely, extremely competent people on the outside that maybe are actually volunteering for the military because, it's a family thing, or because it intrinsically fulfills them, you know, and maybe because they only touch this stuff once a month on the reserve side, or they only do that job once a month, that they're a little more behind in their skills than they should be. And that's a very real thing, because if you don't use something, you lose it.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely
but
true.
It is sometimes, we do have that issue.
So it does exist then, yeah.
It does exist.
It's kind of the same way.
But
I have a little brother who's in the Army Reserves, and I give him crap all the time. I do. I give him crap all the time. I'm like, I'd always say, oh, so that must be the reserve standard. Okay. Too easy.
I mean,
but I do it in a good way. I do it as a way to keep him accountable. I'm like, dude, okay, hey, I get it. You're there. Why don't you do this though? Because this is the standard from the Army. I'm a firm believer. It's all about a team. I'm also one of those guys who, anytime I've gone on mission, I've worked in joint environments, and a lot of the juniors, a lot of people kind of like, oh, you're the Navy, you're the Chair Force, you're the Air Force, and it's just like, dude, in the end though, everyone here has a job and we're all part of the team. And the enemy does not care what echelon you're serving under. They do not. True. They all look at you the same, and you're all a target. So we're all in a team, and we got to depend on each other because everyone has a role, So I've always been that one. And anybody I've led, I've always pushed that to the team. Hey, you treat them with fairness and respect, just like as a member, just like you, just as your battle buddy to your left and right, because that's what they are, So good deal. Well, thanks for sharing and thanks for coming. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So guys, as we continue on too, by all means, if you have any questions about the Air Force or any questions for my special guest host today, by all means, come up on the net, type it up in the chat line, and we'll engage accordingly. All right. Okay. So hot topic, and why I really wanted to get an Air Force senior leader here, is we got a hot topic today, guys. And if you're watching the news, you all know what I'm talking about, but, an airman by the name Aaron Bushnell, those of you who all know, did something really, what I think is stupid, and, self-mutilation, lit himself on fire, quoting "Free Palestine," before he screamed an agonizing death pain, being in the Air Force and him in the Air Force, active duty, might I add, he was active duty. What is like the thought process right now amongst your teammates and your leadership? And has anything come down that you guys have to engage or anything as a senior leader?
So nothing has come down yet. I had a talk with someone that I work with every day that I supervise the other day about it, and some colleagues from other jobs and stuff. Gosh, so I'm only really on Reddit, on the Air Force subreddit, because I like to lurk on there and kind of be a part of the culture.
Yes. Now, I don't mean to interrupt, but by the way, guys, we are no way I'm not speaking on behalf of the DOD or the Army, and she's no way speaking on behalf of the Air Force. This is strictly individually opinion.
This is Rachel's opinion here.
That's all it is. That's all it is. All right. But
Gotta
by all
throw
means,
that in there.
yeah, no, I like to throw that little disclaimer out. Hey, I'm not speaking. Don't take anything or quote it at all.
Yeah. So, seeing on there, it's kind of unfortunate because I'm also very far removed from politics. I don't talk about politics. I avoid, sharing my opinions because I know everyone gets mad. And it's one of those things that I'll talk about it to the right people that are level-headed, that know the art of debate. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, people don't anymore. So I just kind of bite my tongue. But I, taking the news and the politics and the geopolitical side out of it, the member himself, lighting himself on fire to try and bring awareness to a situation, probably, in my opinion, wasn't the best way to handle it. Like, you would be more useful, we lightly touched on this, but going and actually like volunteering yourself for that cause, or going to do something to raise awareness that way, or like giving your effort in support of that, instead of killing yourself in front of a gate and have it on a grainy potato quality video that honestly has already turned him into a meme.
Yeah, he's turned into a meme.
Which I've already shared a couple of them. Like,
yeah.
I mean, us in the military too, we have a dark sense of humor. So a lot of the ways we cope with things is by dark humor. So the fact that this guy's already a meme, like honestly, I had to look up his name,
Yeah.
I don't remember him for his name or who he was. I remember him for the guy that lit himself on fire outside of an embassy, and now he's a meme.
Air Force uniform, yeah.
Yeah, like he kind of brings disgrace upon that military side, because what does that say about us to other countries? Like,
yeah,
when you volunteer and you sign up to defend the Constitution,
you take an oath.
You take an oath to defend this thing, and here he is, kind of. I don't know the right way to.
You're hitting it. I mean, you're definitely hitting it right on the head.
It sucks. It sucks to see.
It is. I think a lot of it though is just a generational thing right now, and I don't know if you guys are seeing it in the Air Force, but in the Army, we are definitely seeing a new a generation of soldiers, who I would say they just lack the mental toughness that is expected upon them being a member of the military, taking that oath, understanding the seriousness of that oath. I mean, there's so many service members now who don't even know their constitutional rights. They don't even know the Constitution. You literally swore to uphold and defend the Constitution against all enemies,
a single part of it,
and domestic. But that is an oath that you take. And there's a seriousness that has to be applied to that. And when someone else is coming on and saying, free this country, and when you look it up and you're like, and anytime, and I say this anytime somebody comes up to me and says this, and I see it all over social media, my first thing I ask them is, have you been there? Have you been there? Because I've been to that strip. And I will tell you, it is different. It is very different. But if you want to make your mark, the price of freedom, and we discussed this earlier, is service. That is service. We took an oath of service to defend freedom.
Right.
That is what we do. That is the oath. It is service. We're providing service for this many years to uphold and defend freedom. That is how you make an impact. Now, if I didn't enlist and didn't take that oath, but I'm just going to go walk around the street and say, hey, I'm going to defend freedom, what do you think how that's going to look? The
Yeah.
cops are probably going to pull me over. Like, I'm going to be in trouble, you know? So no matter what I do, you can stand in front of a Walmart. You can do whatever, you know, that's not going to do anything. You want to make that difference. You want to go after that freedom. Well, then go pay the price in that service. You know, now I'm not telling him, hey, he should never defect. He should be like, well, you know what? Fine. I'm going to finish my time in the Air Force. I'm going to provide the service to my country. And then I'm going to go take a nice little boat ride across the ocean and do whatever you want to do over there.
Yeah. Well,
Fine. Go do it.
100%.
But I promise you're going to get an eye-opening experience when you get there.
Well, so that also makes me a little curious because there's this member that, lit himself on fire to support a cause in a country that he's not sworn to defend right now. And then you got the army guy that defected last year to North Korea.
Yep.
And what happened with that, because I was in North Korea last August and there was a running joke about defecting across the border. So,
Well,
he also became a bit of a little punchline.
Well, when
singer
you look into that, he did it because he was trying to escape he was already in trouble. He was about to be locked up. And so he just did that as a fail safe. Let me just, oh shoot, this is going to happen. Hey, they're not going to catch me here. I'm going to go over here. You know, but it's always an eye-opening experience when people do that. You know, I always say that. I mean, people can protest all you want. You can do all this. Hey, my first question I'm going to ask you is, hey, have you been there? That's going to be my first question. Have you been there?
Yeah. And I don't want to discredit mental health issues in the military because it is a very real thing. That's going to be the
next thing.
Yeah. Like mental health is definitely a thing that does exist. I've been in mental health. I've been through counseling. I've worked through, things that I've struggled with, and I'm very open with my troops. I'm like, hey, if you need something or you need help and I can't help you, like I'm happy to support you in what you need because it is a valid issue. I mean, if you really ruminate and think on something long enough, you can convince yourself that the sky's fucking purple. Like you really can.
Yeah.
So it's important to know that like I'm not trying to crap on this airman and be like, oh, he's just a little crazy, But it is really a big thing. And I think that some of it is maybe there's a lot more to this story that we don't know. And there's like things that we're going to unravel and, OSI, our detectives, our intel, they're probably going to uncover some stuff. And there's already things on his Reddit pages. Like this guy was radicalized for a while now, but it's unfortunate, but I do think that there's a lot of layers to this, and I hope that his family can get peace in his decisions because that's the other thing.
That's the other thing people don't talk about.
Yeah,
is the family, the effect, the after effect. And now if you think about it that way, now his family's got to live with their son being a meme. And it just blows my mind. It blows my mind. And then on the other end, though, like you got individuals who are literally going over there, doing their job and getting killed, And so when you bring up the mental aspect, that's when I firmly believe, though, there's a generational hindrance right now. There's an obstacle when it comes to mental toughness.
Yeah.
And I personally, my personal opinion is it starts at the top. It starts at the top and it'll trickle down. But when you are pushing down this this idea where, hey, combat will wait. Let's take care of this. Don't worry. War, it's not even really there. We're good. We're good. It'll wait. Let's take care of this. Let's take care of this. Rather than, hey, man, you got a problem? Let's talk about it. Let's fix it. Let's fix it. What's the issue? Share it with me. You believe this? Hey, come sit down. Let's talk about it. Because let me go over the oath you took and what it represents. And not only that, let me go over the same men and women who wore that same uniform, who took the same oath, who are no longer here.
I have a question for you.
Ask it.
All right. Have you... I assume, so we have the Air Force Creed, when you went through the Air Force and you had to memorize the Creed and it was like, the Air Force little motto thing, is the best way to describe it to a civilian. Like, it's like your company mission, vision, that kind of thing. how many people have you talked to directly in the Army in the last like 3 or 4 months that know the Army equivalent to what the Air Force creed is?
No, so yeah, no, we do have a soldier's creed. And then we also have like the NCO creed that you also have
Okay.
to know whenever you become an NCO.
Do people know those? Like to have, are they memorized? Do they?
So they're supposed to. They're supposed to. Now, I strongly I am one of the but here's where it comes down from the top though, because you may hold that accountability to that airman, hey, this is what the creed is. It's a foundational representation of what you abide by, how you conduct yourself, But if you have other leaders who are like, dude, don't worry. Hey, you know what? Just know it for this ceremony and you're good. We all been there. We all done it. It's just words on a page. Just memorize it. But then you have those leaders who are like, hey man, this is a foundational setting for your new level of leadership you're about to embark on. So I encourage you, take heed to what it says and use it, retain it, regurgitate it, use it because it's going to help you.
So those younger soldiers or the younger airmen, have you seen them taking it seriously like that, or are they here to get that paycheck?
I'll tell you right
do
now.
that job.
No, it's a great question. I'll tell you right now. Right now, it's a select few. I can probably count them on one hand. But I say it as a term of, hey, there's only a few that I would easily, like, I'll identify an individual. I'll be like, hey, you know what? I can go to combat with you. I can go to combat with you. You, I can't go to combat with you. I can't right now. Maybe later, but you got some work to do. Because right now, you're lacking what it takes. You're lacking that resilience. You're lacking that adaptability. You're lacking that accountability. You're lacking that ownership in your role. And I will help you get there. I will.
That's good.
I will help you get there as your leader. I will help you get there. But I can only do so much. There's a level of ownership you have to take, But see, that's my leadership style. I can't speak on behalf of all the other leaders.
True.
I
mean, I don't know which one that is. I'm more of like a laissez-faire leader. So it's more like I'll help and I'll coach and I'll guide, but I like to lead by example and be like pretty adaptable to stuff. The tough thing, I think, is with the newer airmen that we see is it's all about like a me too, or not me too. I'm sorry. That's a different movement about like me. It's like, what do I get out of it kind of thing.
Yeah. Like an entitlement.
Yeah. And it's like, it's one of those things where I feel like people will actively volunteer for things if they can get clout or recognition or like some sort of incentive for them. It's not necessarily learning to volunteer out of something that intrinsically fulfills them because they're helping someone out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah.
I don't want to put religion too much into this, but I feel like a lot of Christian religions are more giving in that sense of like, hey, I'm going to help you because I'm a nice person. Or Texans, honestly.
Yeah.
You compare Texas to Seattle, where I'm from. A lot of people in Seattle don't hold the door open. Jeez. They just open the door and let it slam. And in Texas, I got used to people just holding the door open out of kindness. It's a simple thing of like generosity versus, not so much, or showing that you care for someone because they're a human and, having that humanity and that little bit of empathy or compassion versus, not caring about anyone else but yourself or the likes you got on Instagram for wearing your uniform.
Chasing that clout.
Yeah, chasing that clout,
Yep.
And honestly, that's probably one of the biggest things with retention and recruitment is the fact that we can't get people to volunteer solely for the cause of defending what they get to do, I guess. Like, you want to be able to go country dancing on a Friday night or go hiking in that forest you love. Maybe you should volunteer to defend it if you're worried that something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother topic of like how comfortable we are on our own soil and like thinking that everything's hunky-dory over here and we're good to go. Like it's because there's people like us in the uniform, keeping that presence, keeping that stability.
Yeah. I know a lot of senior leaders who obviously, because it's been a rough time too in the Army. And a lot of seniors are just like, dude, I'm done with this. I'm getting out. I'm getting out. I'm done. It's different now. There's no top cover. There's not like, it's different. The focus has changed, and they would ask me why are you still in, but I saw it from the other side. I saw it where it's like, hey, I can't give up, you know. I myself have my own accountability, I have two flags, that are downstairs in my living room that literally tell a story, and, my whole arm, it tells a story. And that is my way of instilling that accountability on me, that I can't give up, because at some point in time, I just want to make sure it's not on my watch, but if it is, and that balloon goes up, they're going to need somebody to get them ready, and hold them to that standard, hold them accountable, and my style has never changed. Every commander I've worked with, I literally let them know, hey, this is who you get. Like, this is me. This is what you're going to get, and it's too standard. I'm not changing nothing. This is the standard.
So here's a question for you. Do you ever doubt yourself as a leader?
Do I ever doubt myself?
Yeah. Like, do you ever look at where you're at or who you're supervising or what you're leading, and you're like, damn, am I really the right person for this job? Do you ever doubt yourself?
I wouldn't say I doubt myself, but I will do what I call reassessing. I will have to reassess.
Okay.
And we've had this conversation before, but as a leader, one of the two important characteristics is adaptability, and as a leader, I have to adapt, and I encourage everybody else. In the previous episodes, I've discussed this, the importance of being able to adapt, because how I engage this soldier, I can engage this soldier in a certain manner, in a certain tone, and they will totally get it, and they will trek on. But then I have this soldier who has a different upbringing, probably didn't grow up with parents, probably grew up in a very different atmosphere coming up. And if I engage them in that same tone, they may just shrivel up. They may not know what's going on,
Yep.
So I have to adapt. So times, if I'm going to be in charge of a team or a new team, I'm going to observe, and I'm going to have to reassess. I'm going to be like, okay, I need to change some things here, because in the end, there's still a mission and there's still execution that has to be done. So my job is to make sure that is taken care of while taking care of the folks, taking care of the team.
Right.
So I wouldn't say doubt, but reassess would be the word,
So
reassess.
I asked a officer when I was a senior airman, so I was an E3 at the time up in Seattle, and I decided to sit down with one of the majors in 04 at the time. He was our flight officer, and I was just like, "Hey, sir, I have some questions. You got time?" And I just did like an informational interview, and he's now a commander over in Oregon for a guard unit. Can I give shout outs on here? I don't know. He's been a great mentor, but Lieutenant Colonel Wilcox.
Shout out Wilcox.
But I did talk to him, and I was like, hey, I have a list of questions, and he carved out like some time for me, and we sat down and talked. And that was the question I asked him, is I was like, hey, do you doubt yourself as a leader? And his answer was every day. He said every day he looked at what he did and something that he could do better, and whether or not he felt like he wasn't right for that position. And I really internalize that question, because I feel like even as a leader, there's things that you can learn from the people around you, whether it's people that you supervise or that you work with, or someone that's like across the office that's unrelated. But I always look for like qualities that other leaders have and things that I can learn, or things that they do or exude, that it's like, hey, that's a presence that I want to emulate. Like, that's something that I want to do.
Oh yeah.
And I think it is a good thing to, like, whether it's reassessing or, re-internalizing or, doubting yourself or whatever it is. It's one of those things that's just like a sign of a good leader, in my opinion, is someone that is introspective and self-aware and looks at where they can do better.
No, I agree. And when you are part of that reassessing is doing some self-evaluation, what can you change? We have evals, we have climate surveys, I myself always hold a time where we have, in the Army, we have quarterly counselings for, our junior leaders, and if I'm in charge of those leaders, I know that when I sit down with them, I always end it with like, okay, now let's turn this on me. What, give me, just give me, I'll even break it down. Hey, give me 2 improves and 2 sustains. What can I improve on? What is it? Can I be more present? Can I properly schedule or manage my time with the meetings? Can I be whatever I can improve on, share it, and then of course, what are some sustains? What do you like? What have you been doing good? Because when I'm counseling them as junior leaders, I'm holding them that same standard. I'm be like, hey, you know what? The past 90 days, you've done this and this and this really well. Continue that. You're on a path for success. Hey, you know what though? There's these 2 things though. There's just 2 improves that I think you can work on. Maybe more knowledge in the job, more knowledge in the tactical realm or something,
How do you think the newer generation would receive that criticism? Like the younger ones that are, not necessarily receiving much harsh news or constructive criticism well, because, I mean, honestly, we both seen it. The younger soldiers or the younger airmen are used to being coddled a little bit.
Yes.
Do you think they're going to take that?
So, well, here's the thing though. It's like they have to understand that standard. Like they have to understand, like as a leader, I have to make sure that they have that understanding, but that understanding has to be shared. So they have to share my understanding and I have to share their understanding. So I'm going to make sure that they understand, hey, you're about to do this role. Here's my expectation of you in this role. Welcome to the team. Here's the expectation of you. Do you have any questions? Do you have any issues? Do you not understand this? And here's the seriousness though. Here's the purpose. You have a vital purpose to this team. And I need you to understand that. So when I give you, I may critique you, I may correct you, and I'm also going to reward you, as your senior leader. That is my job, and you have to understand that. Now, there are certain leaders though that don't really take that time, and don't take that level of ownership in their role, and it'll show. And that's when I told you before, that trickle down effect, trickle down effect. If you, as a master sergeant, if you know that your first shirt and you guys are always button heads and is on a whole different playing field, not really supporting you, not really supporting the master sergeants, it's going to trickle down. And then your juniors are going to see that,
the hope is that they don't see like anything like that. I don't know. As one thing that on the Air Force side that we've been dealing with, at least, a friend of a friend has been dealing with, is, as a leader, you kind of learn that there are some things that you have to take the brunt of, or you have to like kind of take the hit for, and make sure that you can mentor below you and build up those future leaders.
That's exactly it.
Like sometimes you do fail and you might forget to do an eval or forget to give constructive feedback or ask for it or whatever it is. But if you miss a training and someone's like, hey, why didn't you all do this? Like sometimes you got to be like, hey, it's on me. Like I messed up because I didn't manage that, or I didn't delegate appropriately, or whatever it was. And then you might have to retroactively go to a person and be like, hey, let's figure out why we missed this deadline or why we missed this training, and how I can, talk to you in the way that you need to receive the information to get that on the schedule next time, or how I can effectively let you know how important this is. And maybe that's the key to the newer generation, is figuring out how to talk to them in a way that they receive it without feeling attacked or feeling like they're completely in the wrong, or maybe they need to have some ownership too. Maybe that's some of it.
No, that's where it starts to me. And this is probably where the Army and the Air Force is just a little bit different.
The question is, who raised them?
Yeah, no.
How were they brought up?
No, that it does, but as a leader, we have to adapt to that.
Yeah.
You know, we have to adapt to that. But the only part of that adaptation is they have to understand what they're doing, like what they signed up for. You know, when you're signing up for the military, you're not an employee at Amazon. You know, you're not working at Burger King. You know, this isn't where you can just put in your 2 weeks. You know, you took an oath.
Yeah.
You know, you took an oath of service, and people are literally you can take pride in that. You know, there's pride that you can walk around higher. You can walk around the airport and people are gonna be like, thank you for your service and everything, you know. And they have to understand that. And right now there is a lack of understanding of that.
Well, look at the last time we were in like a serious conflict. I mean, we've been in an
No,
11, 12-year war,
That's
but
exactly what it is.
Yeah.
This is what you call a peacetime force.
it is.
A peacetime
100%.
force where now you're more internally focused and not externally focused. When in the end, what keeps the U.S. military in business is war.
I mean, that
what we
keeps
do.
a lot of things in business too.
Yeah.
Like war drives money for private corporations too.
But we, as servicemen and women, are in the business of war. We're either preparing for conflict, or we're in conflict, or we're recovering from conflict. But that is what we do.
It's interesting that you said peacetime and like internally focused, because that does kind of perfectly illustrate the last 3-4 years, at least on the Air Force side that I've been seeing, is this huge shift into like internal readiness and resiliency and mental health and, you know, diversity training and all of these like mandatory stand down days for all the things that have happened. And it is good on some aspects, but then I see on the other hand of where people are like, hey, the Air Force, I don't know about the Army, but the Air Force, everyone says they're like, oh, it's super soft now. And, you know, the new generation, like everything's, you know, hunky dory and it's so cushy and they have their phones and basic training. Like, but, but when shit actually hits the fan and we do go to war again, like it's not like people are going to grow up real quick if they're not already grown up already.
No. And it is sad, but that is the only way. And this has happened before. If you look in history, it's happened before, you know, and it's in waves, but, it's sad that it takes conflict, or it takes a catastrophic event or conflict to instill a shift of focus, you know, instill that patriotism again. You know, I mean, it took 9/11 to all of a sudden you're seeing everyone walking around with American flags everywhere, you know, after that. And now you rarely see that. But it took an event like 9/11 to all of a sudden it's like, what? Like they put all chaos aside, all whatever arguments, all of that just shifted, you know?
Well, it's interesting because like you can allude that to the civilian side too. Like it takes some sort of traumatic event or so, you know, maybe a divorce or a death in the family or something to like really have people have that like come to yourself moment or whatever it is of like, hey, you know, let's change something. Let's make a difference. Let's improve ourselves, or let's make this situation better. And I think that, you know, that's a great illustration of where, you know, I think the country's at is we have had a bit of a peacetime. Now there's a book that I've started reading recently. And then I had an audiobook called The Kill Chain. I don't know if you've read it or
listened. I've never heard of that one.
So it's called The Kill Chain, and it is based off of the last about 10 years, but it's actually a really, really good book about where we're at and how, in the eyes of where the global powers are shifting, where we're at. And in all honesty, we're a little behind. So it's kind of one of those like, oh crap books where you're like, damn, this is where we're at and we weren't aware of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's high level Pentagon positions that are running these scenarios and options and opportunities. And it's like, oh wow, like depending on the global power, like we actually don't have the upper hand that we're sitting here thinking every day that we have, and that we're so like comfortable in our cozy little, you know, continental bed. Like, no.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that I think people are very comfortable in where they're at. And it does take that traumatic moment or that, oh crap moment like 9/11 did to drive retention. But I don't think that should be the motivating thing to make people suddenly want to join the military.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
No, you're right. And a lot of it too is, like I said before, though, you need that top cover, and right now with there's just a shift of administration, policies and procedures and focuses where you just don't feel like there's really not that top cover, it's so it can be, it's a challenge, and sadly it's going to take either a change up top, or it's going to take some type of conflict, for the leaders to be like, oh shoot, we need to shift our focus here.
Yeah.
We need to shift our focus because what we thought was working, it's not really working right now.
I highly recommend that book. I promise you, you're going to text me and be like,
send me, you have to send me the link.
Yeah,
Send me
I
the
will.
Amazon link or the audio.
I have
book
like
link.
75 Audible credits. So if you want a free audiobook, I got you.
Hey guys, you guys are witnesses to that. Hey, speaking of which, team, let me chime in on the chat box real quick. I see some traffic here.
Right.
If you guys have any questions, like I said, for my special guest, Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, Rachel here, good friend. And if you have any questions, guys, feel free. If you have any input, let's go ahead and chime in here. Let's see. We got Jeeves 1990. What's up, Jeeves? Welcome to the team. Hey, I think we all have doubts. It's an important part of keeping ourselves in check and learning how to do better. That is actually very true. Self-evaluation and that reassessing is very important. Yes. Hey, Recon, what's up, man? Welcome. Magnanimous as always. Hey, hope all is going good with you. Hey, I appreciate that, man. I hope you are magnanimous as well. Let's see. Okay, so you guys are over there chatting with yourself. Hey, never. Okay, yeah, thank you, guys. Hey, I see that heart too. I appreciate that.
Your little fan club.
That's the team. Thanks, team. No, yeah, no. As we were saying, though, yeah, no, that shifts. It definitely starts at the top, and it will trickle down, and it honestly, it's inevitable. History always repeats itself. If you look back in historical times, you will see we were kind of going through the same thing now, right there prior to Vietnam. Mm-hmm. During that pre-Vietnam phase, the military was very internally focused, very just like, there were a lot of protests. There was you can see literally it was like almost a mimic of today's society. Just you got added social media now.
Well, social media and AI. That's the big scary thing. But
AI.
Oof.
AI. Yeah, man.
Oh,
I
don't like, I'm Seabird. I'm not AI, but I don't even want to begin to think about that side of it yet.
It's Skynet. I'm telling you, it's crazy because I feel like Hollywood is always like it's today's current Nostradamus is Hollywood. Just go back and watch the movies that were like in the 1990s, like Terminator, watch the movie that Steven Spielberg did, Artificial Intelligence, with the kid, that kid from The Sixth Sense, movie.
You're asking the wrong person. I don't watch a lot of movies.
I forgot his name, but it's literally like, dude, they just foresaw the future. That's all they did. They predicted the future. And now we're getting to that point where like you got Elon Musk testing the first like robot, and Neuralink and all this weird stuff. And you're just like, dude,
yeah,
this is going to be insane. And what's crazy is, to me, I always feel like it's only a matter of time before everything that's created is weaponized. Like we live in a time where
AI has already been weaponized.
Yeah.
That's not an old thing.
Anything. You can literally invent, like, let's just say you invented this.
TikTok's already been weaponized.
Yeah. Let's say you invented this bottle. Somebody somewhere is going to figure out a way to weaponize this bottle.
They made a Molotov cocktail out of it.
Exactly. Everything is weaponized.
You're literally describing my job. My job is to think about the worst case situation and what could happen. So that's my job is pretty much thinking about, okay, if the sky were to fall or someone were to try to do something against us, what would they do and how would we react? So. Oh man. Yeah. It's fun. Good times.
Well, yeah, it is. I will say we are in some crazy times, and I always tell, the team here, just always have a plan, at least, I've always come up with that saying, fail to plan to fail, just have a plan and take care of your circles, and if you live by that, you'll be fine, especially on the civilian side, you will be fine, just have a plan. As far as the military side, I would just say, hey, resilience is key. Continue to be resilient. Times will change. The focus will change. So they're going to need senior leaders. They're going to need master sergeants like you, to maintain that spearhead. Be the strong one that's like, hey, I understand you guys don't understand this now, but you will, and I will show you. Damn social media just makes it crazy.
It's both a blessing and a curse.
It is. I'm not knocking it. I mean, it really is.
On my social media, we have, so I do Air Force emergency management, and we have like a Facebook group for our career field.
Mm-hmm.
So it's active, guard, reserve. Like we all come together and we all kind of chat and bounce ideas off of each other, and we form like this tight little network. So on that case, like it's great because it's, if you need something, you have people, you have connections, we're networking, we're training together. Like you go to an event on an Army proving ground, like I was a couple months ago, and
nice.
I'm meeting people that it's like, oh, I've been talking to you through email and social media for 2 years. It's nice to put a face to a name.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you have the clout chasers that are selling a hair gel or, projecting their Tupperware brand or whatever it is on their Instagram. And it's like, why are you wearing your uniform and doing this? Like, why can't you do this as Stacy from across the street or whoever you are,
Yeah.
Like if you're going to wear the uniform, in my personal, Rachel's opinion, if you're going to wear your uniform on social media, it should be for a reason that benefits, a positive leadership aspect or a positive representation of the military and the U.S. because it's not just, the military looking at your Instagram. It's the U.S., it's other countries, it's adversaries. Like it's things that you need to know that it's not just this tiny little bubble that you're influencing. It's the rest of the world. And it's an opinion that you're portraying or an illusion that's going out to the world. And is that something that you want to keep projecting out?
Yeah.
Do you want to light yourself on fire? Like, I hate to bring it back to that, but it is terrible. Like,
yeah, I don't, that whole, like I said, that whole thing, man, that airman just lighting himself on fire like that. It literally, what pisses me off the most is like, dude, that does nothing. You accomplish nothing.
Well, he's got us talking about it. He's got,
but that's it.
Like he's got a lot of the world talking about it.
What did he do for Palestine?
Yeah, I mean, he probably got a couple more hits on Google of like, what is this? What's going on? What is a Palestine? You
gave up your life. What did you do? What did you do for that cause?
Yeah.
That's where it ties in. That's where it ties in. To me, is like I said before. You know what? If you want freedom for a country, provide your service. That is the price. Service is the price.
Yeah, you look at the people that volunteered to go to Ukraine and, just be a fighter, like not representing the U.S., but using their skills. There you go.
There are veterans who literally volunteered to go over there because they know that is the real service for freedom. Mm-hmm. If that is the cause you want to stand up for, you want to help them, you want to support them, okay. That is, I give them props. I actually have more respect for them. Hey, dude. As long as you understand you're about to possibly die for another country on a foreign soil, but hey, it is your choice. You know what, dude? And I respect you because you actually know what to do. You know what to do, but standing in the street, blocking a mailman or blocking a trucker, that's not going to do anything for that country. You're not.
Do you ever wonder if those people just don't know how to properly express what they're thinking or feeling? Like maybe it didn't occur to them like, hey, I could volunteer to go fight in the Ukraine instead of buy a pastry from a local bake shop. or maybe they don't have the capability,
You know what? That's the one thing I love too. Once that whole Ukraine thing popped off, there were so many fake companies. There were so many like funding groups that literally just made money off that.
Well, the one here in San Antonio is really good. I've been there. I've been there before the Ukraine thing. I've been there after. Their cheesecakes and espresso is still on point.
Okay.
But I do know what you mean about like certain brands that pop up.
They just take advantage of that. They're
Yeah.
like, ooh, marketing opportunity.
They're
Let's
just
go.
capitalizing.
Let's go. Let's make some money.
It'll happen everywhere. Every war is going to bring that.
Yeah.
Some company's going to make tiny United States
Military
flags.
industrial complex. It's a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're going to get into like conspiracy stuff here.
Oh, nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm going to put that tinfoil hat back on.
Let's
take it off.
Let's take it off. Let's take it off. We're not going to go that far. But so you had mentioned earlier too on the volunteerisms, and community service and community outreach. And a lot of that actually, you made a valid point, because sometimes some of these servicemen and women, to include, let's go back to the airman who burned himself, like, I don't think he probably understood his impact of his service. I don't think he understood, how many of those little kids, if he went to like volunteer at an event, these little kids are going to look up to him just walking around that uniform and knowing and instilling that, hey, this is a defender of our freedom, gives them that sense of purpose.
Here's a question. You, straight out of AIT,
Ooh.
Flying through the airport, maybe no rank on your uniform.
I was a PFC.
Did anybody walk up to you and say thank you for your service?
Oh, yeah.
Did you know what to say?
I didn't know what to say.
Exactly. They just never got out of that.
Here's the thing. I didn't know what to say, but I also knew, because I was more mature. I was older, and of course I joined because I had a brother of mine who was killed in Afghanistan. So I knew what I was getting into. And to me, I knew that, hey, I didn't earn that thank you yet. Like in my mind, I didn't earn that thank you. And I volunteered for this. There's no need to thank me. I volunteered for this.
Maybe that's where they're at. They feel like they haven't done anything, and they're starting to project that and exude that.
Exactly.
Why am I in this? They don't have the why.
And that's what I'm saying, is we have to provide, as leaders, I make sure a new member of my team understands the why, the purpose. This is your role. Here's the purpose. This, you being here and you doing your job, is going to have all these effects, first, second, third, tertiary effects, just and so on. You are vital to this team. Therefore, the accountability and the ownership that you're going to take is going to affect us, and I may go somewhere and I may rely on you. So I need to know, are you prepared and ready to do this? Because if not, we'll find another place for you. And they get a sense of pride, they get a sense like, okay, let's do this, And right now there's just a lack of that. There's a lack of that. You get, I think a lot of it too, at least in the Army side, you're getting a lot of promotees who are just coming up very fast with lacking the experience.
Yeah.
They're lacking that experience.
I mean, but you gotta scale that up and look at people getting out, like the retirees versus who we're taking in. And there's going to be that gap. There's going to be that gap of like, hey, you're promoting because you're here, because we have 10 people leaving. We got to promote 5 to fill half those spots at least.
Yeah. Cause it's a billet game. It's a numbers game.
Yeah. And it's kind of like at that point, it's now we need, I guess maybe where we're at, where we're re-internalizing and reinvesting into our leaders and trying to develop them faster, is maybe because of that gap. It's something that I hadn't previously thought about, but now it kind of makes sense.
Thank you for that, Grizzly. Grizzly, thanks for that round of applause for what Rachel said. Hey, you must have liked what you said. You hit a good point.
Someone's looking to go to a slot for school, I guess.
There you go. Oh, jeez. Boot activities. I see that, Recon. Hey, appreciate that, Grizzly, man. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all you guys for being present this evening. I really do appreciate that. And like I said, if you have any questions or any input you would like to share or any thoughts, guys, feel free to type them in the chat. I'm definitely going to engage them. If you have questions for my special guest here, any questions even about the Air Force, hey, here's the time to ask.
Air
right
Force, Seaburn. I'll answer the best I can.
There you go. Okay, so back to that volunteerism, and community service. I mean, you obviously brought that up for a reason. I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on that.
So the one thing I've noticed and the one thing that I've been kind of thinking on lately is like, people ask you all the time, you go to a military class or you go on an exercise or you talk to someone at the grocery store. They're like, why are you in the military? Why did you serve? And everyone volunteers for different reasons. Yours seems more like someone that wanted to defend the country, which obviously that's the most honorable one. Mine was a little different. And we didn't talk about this earlier, but
Ooh, let's hear it.
So, I was a sophomore in college and I was doing the college thing as a civilian, that we do, drinking, partying, doing whatever you want. And I grew up hearing a lot about my parents worrying about money. We went through the 2008 educational thing and the crisis with the crunch and the bubble popping in the economy. And I remember my mom pouring out quarters so that I could go to school and buy lunches and stuff. And I was the youngest I have two older brothers. And I always heard my mom complaining about the cost of money, the cost of college, the cost of this, the cost of that. So I actually joined the Air Force to help my parents pay for my college.
Oh, nice.
And after, the first year, I had my GI Bill, I had tuition assistance, I had all these resources. And I used that to use an internship and go to Australia and study abroad to get my college degree and get my bachelor's degree. And then after that is where it really became like, oh, this has actually developed me into an upstanding adult, and I have a ground to stand on, and I feel more grounded and guided in what I'm doing. And, it's straight out of college. I graduated and got offered a job with my county government because, again, I was Air Force Reserve at the time, like a traditional reservist. So I would work my 1 weekend a month, my 2 weeks out of the year, and then I had my civilian job as well. So it was kind of crazy because I remember straight out of college doing that interview and I was like, I don't feel qualified for this at all. But the Air Force says that I have a hazmat certification and I have, this and that. And I'm a hazmat technician and I know emergency management. And so I got hired. And I actually, maybe it's for me personally as a leader, I tend to not believe in myself. And that job quickly showed me that it was a remote job. So I was working alone and, doing everything day to day by myself. And I was like, well, apparently I do know what I'm doing.
Wow.
But that was kind of how my Air Force career started, was with it helping me get a civilian job, ironically. And then I kept doing the reserve thing, doing my civilian job for a couple of years, and I got deployed. And while I was deployed, I was like, okay, I'm tired of being a administrative assistant. Like, I'm tired of doing this county government thing. Like, let's see where emergency management can go. And so while I was deployed, I started applying for a bunch of Air Force jobs, like, CST and civilian emergency management and, base jobs and whatever I could find. And I got outright hired for this AGR, active guard reserve gig. Like, no interview, nothing. I put in for it. I got hired. And
now, is that something hard? Like, is it hard to accomplish?
It's pretty difficult to get an AGR
it's very
job.
Challenging.
They're very competitive. There's a tight network in my career field, especially.
It's pretty tough in the Army too.
Yeah.
Like, it's very specific to a certain job.
Yeah.
If there's an opening for it.
It really is. And I found out about a year and a half down the road that I came highly recommended. And it was because of that Lieutenant Colonel Wilcox that I did that interview with about, leadership. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that my commander at the time called him and was like, hey, who's this person?
It's all about who you know. I guess it even extends in the Air Force.
I don't know, man. And I still wonder, like, sometimes, why I'm in, like, why I'm doing this. But you get those little reminders. Like you get that
Yeah.
airman that's like, hey, what you did really helped me out. Or, my job, a lot of my job is to teach installation CBurn. So teaching people how to
Oh,
wear
that's
their
legit.
gas mask in the career field, like in the field, in a warfare environment, like when there's actual sarin or VX or, the fourth generation agents there, like how to protect yourself so that you can go home to your family.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to constantly remind myself like, hey, this is why I'm here, because that aspect of like what I'm actually doing is what drives me now. Like that's not why I joined. I might have joined because I wanted the college money, but now I'm in it because I'm actually making an impact on people. And the things that I know and the things I know how to teach, and even not like the military side, but like those social skills and those soft skills of like how to talk to people or how to adapt to their learning style or their communication style are really honestly beneficial. And it's something that you might not think about at the time, but when you look back and reflect, you're like, hey, that was actually a pretty cool thing that I did, or I saw how it helped them in their career. And that's what pays you off,
There you go. See, there you go. You said it before. You are living and being that example.
I guess. I don't know.
That's what being a leader is. That's one of the most important parts right there too. Is just be that example. I always have. So part of my philosophy, my leadership philosophy, is broken down into two statements. And that is, the doer does what the checker checks, and you be the leader they need, not the leader they want. And as long as you hold true to that, you're gonna be fine.
It's funny. I say that second one about my massage therapist. Not the one that I need, the one that's going to like drill it into you and force you to be better.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, you're doing a good job, and hang in there, I mean, you're almost at the end, you and I both, I count down the days, it's just like, dude, here we go. I just take everything one day at a time, one mission at a time, and just continue to take that level of ownership, and then continue to be the example.
You say just at the end, and yet here I am, like essentially starting over.
Nah, you're getting ready to go overseas and do some cool stuff.
Yeah, so I got the deployment, and then I got selected for an officer commission.
What?
So, yeah. Rude. Yeah. So
you're crossing over to the dark side.
I'm a big believer in gut instincts, and my gut has been kicking me this way for a couple years.
As long as you be that officer in that command position that they need, not the one that they want. And as long as you're not just chasing a paycheck, I'm fine.
So here's the thing.
Oh, great. Great,
No,
guys.
so I've been wanting to go.
Somebody give me the rock. Someone give me the rock one right now. Give me the rock channel point right now, team.
I've been wanting to go pilot, and I've hit like wall upon wall along the way. So in the meantime, while I've been trying to chase the pilot route, typical Air Force, I put in for the Deserving Airman Commissioning Board, which is like an enlisted pathway to other jobs that aren't pilot. It's like pilot is here, medical's here, and then enlisted, like other officer jobs is over here. So I put in for that, and I put in like September, found out in December that I made it.
Oh, nice.
And
well, congratulations.
Thank you. The positions I put in for don't exist anymore. So
really?
Yeah, I put in for Intel, and then I put in for, I think the second one was like a logistics officer. So there were 12 positions available, and they accepted 4 of us. And then suddenly we got an email, 2 weeks after we got the phone call that we were accepted to commission. That was like, hey, there's 4 positions open for 4 of you. And it was 3 logistics officers and 1 maintenance officer.
Oh,
so it's kind of like this weird bait and switch of like, hey, you made it, but you actually didn't.
It's funny because the Army kind of does the same thing. It kind of does the same thing, but it waits. You won't find out what branch. And they're going to rack and stack you based how you score through the course.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So they rack and stack by what's available, and they'll only take everybody in the course by what's available. But based off how you score, in the course, that's how they rack and stack you. So if you score on like the top 5, you're going to get whatever those top 5 billets are, if it was Intel or if it's this. And if not, you're just going to take wherever they got left. And they could
Yeah.
be logistics. It could be armor. It could be, infantry. It can be whatever. Like it can be any of that, quartermaster, communications. So it's very competitive. Let's just put it that way. It's very competitive, and it looks like it's kind of the same way a
Yeah.
little bit in a sense, but at least ahead of time before you know,
Yeah, but it's like, at what point do you say, hey, where am I going to be a better asset to the military? Is
that's the
like
thing.
staying as an E7. And we didn't really touch on it. Like, I've done a lot the last year.
Oh, I believe it.
I've worked with the Army. I've been all over the world. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
you seem like you're always traveling.
yeah.
And as long as I've known you, you're always TDY.
And it's like,
Always.
it's one of those things. It's like, this is where I'm benefiting right now, because I'm training myself. I'm taking it back to my unit. I'm
got a
building
lot to offer.
myself. But then it's like, okay, if I go officer, this is a route. It's like the unknown, I'm still in the military. I'm still benefiting the DOD, but it's like, is this the right decision for me? And can I progress better somewhere else? It's like one of those things as a leader that you're like, where am I best used?
That self-evaluation.
Oh, dude, I have so much imposter syndrome sometimes.
Oh,
Like,
man.
I don't know.
It happens.
I'm scared. I'll admit I think I've said that to my troops. I'm like, I'm scared as hell right now, because not only do I have to leave the career field that I've known for 12 years, but I also have to quit my AGR job. I have to quit my full-time employment to go to a reserve officer position and find a civilian job and like leave this whole
dude,
path. And it's like, if
just
I
keep
was
the stripes. Just live the stripes life.
But then where does that go in the future?
You're
I'm
gonna
holding
be-
a spot for someone else to progress.
Yeah, but then you eventually promote to first shirt, right? You go be
First sergeant's not like a guaranteed thing. That's an additional duty for us.
okay.
So that's one of the few routes I can go from my position.
When are you looked at for E9?
Well, I'm in
E8. When are you looked at for E8?
when I find an available spot,
Ooh.
which are very few in my career field in the Air Force
So
Reserves.
nice to be in the Air Force, jeez.
No, because it's competitive, and it's also based
it's the
off
same
of
way.
merit.
It's the same way in the Army. I know that. So we're competing against our peers, and when I get my first look for E8, I'm basically going to be rack and stacked against all the other peers in my MOS. So, and it's going to be based off what's available and then who is best fit.
I actually had an opportunity in October. I was up in Buckley Air Force Base in Colorado, and I was in admin on so the Air Force Reserves has this thing called the CEDT Next board. And it's like basically a vectoring process for promotion and positions. So like before you want to apply for a position in the reserves, you can get vectored, and then you basically have like a leg up that says, hey, we vouch for that person to get that job because they're qualified. I was an admin official on it. So there were 12 chiefs on the board, like E9s, and there were 3 admins. So they had, 4 to 5 chiefs on each section in 3 different groups. And I think we vectored 250 Air Force Reserve civil engineer applicants between E6, E7, E8, and E9 positions. And I'll tell you what, being an admin on that and seeing, at the end of it, I think it was about 120 different packages with EPRs, EPBs, performance statements, where they want to go, where they want to be in 5 years, their resumes.
That sounds.
And having chiefs be like, hey, do you know Sergeant so-and-so? And like, they knew these people, and watching leaders talk about where these airmen would be best used and where their skills could build or not build, or like where they should go. It was crazy. Like I'd missed the deadline for my own application on that.
Jeez.
But I think I learned more listening to how the upper echelon of leadership looks at airmen, looks at NCOs, and looks at like, hey, where can they go? Or do you know that person? Are they worth it? Are they ready for this? And like directly seeing where your career can go based off of your name or your merit or your package is crazy.
Jeez. What's crazy though is I did read that the Air Force is bringing back the warrant officer.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
not for my career field, sadly.
Oh,
Try.
I did read an article on that. They're bringing back the warrant officer course.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
That'd be, you never know. That could be an option down the road.
Well, so that's also something from an outsider's perspective for the Army is, so we're talking about bringing back warrant officers. And I don't know if you saw, but we also recently sent out an email or a bulletin saying like, hey, if you're retired and you want to come back, we'll take you.
What?
Okay. So
what?
So
hey guys, if any of you retired from the Air Force, get ready. They might bring you back.
So they not required, but it was a voluntary thing. And they were like, hey, if you want to come back to the Air Force, we'll bring you back, but you can't promote. So when you go back to retirement, you're not going to promote to a new rank. You get your same pay. You still have to do PT tests and weight measurements.
Damn. Well,
you
it
can
is
still
the Air
get
Force. So.
Well, yeah, they were like, you can still get additional duties and you can still deploy. So like,
I mean, how strict are your guys' PT tests and weight measurements? Let's be realistic now.
Well, I mean, they're all right.
You know, it'd be good, and you guys let me know. Maybe one of these days, I will do a video where this master sergeant in the Air Force has to take the Army combat fitness test.
Let's do it. I'm in. I'm not scared.
I will take the Air Force fitness tests.
I ain't scared.
That'd actually be pretty cool. We should set that up. That actually would be pretty cool.
Let's do it. I'm in.
You know, I'm curious to know the Air Force standards now for readiness.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we run, because y'all run 2 miles, right?
Yeah, 2 miles.
Yeah.
At the end of the ACFT.
We run 1.5 miles. And I'm pretty sure it's at the end as well. Yeah, it's at the end.
Ooh.
But the waist measurement thing got a little weird, so they just brought that back.
Yeah, they made some changes too in the Army when it comes to body composition evaluations. So yeah, they changed it's basically like a waist measurement now. Solely.
Yeah, it's like, let me body tape you, but I don't know about you, but from the girl's side.
Oh, I always get taped.
Oh, well, they tape you, but they're like, where's your hip? And you point to your hip and it's
geez.
2 inches lower.
Are you serious?
And you're like, ma'am, that is my actual bone that does not move. Like my waist is up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not the most accurate.
It's definitely not accurate, but it gives, at least for the Army, because it's very outdated and it's just not very accurate, but it just gives them a foundational basis, and that's all it really is, you know. I went to Army Master Fitness School, and in that school they teach you to to run that program for a whole unit, and part of it is you have to articulate. Yes, they know these. It's a scale that's literally outdated, but it's just a broad line, foundational, just a guideline. That's all it is. It's just a guideline. It's not going to give you your accurate reading. It's not going to be accurate, but it is just here's. Hey, it's designed to be like next, boom, 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 boom. Okay, write it down. Okay, next. You know, that's literally what it's designed for. So
yeah. I mean, that's fair. On a grand scale, that's kind of all they need, right? Is like capture the metrics, get the census, and press forward.
Yeah, that's all it is. That's all it is. All right, guys, we're going to get ready to wrap up here. Let me chime up here. Let's see what you got here. Hey, first of all, shout outs to Grizzly, Recon, and Jeeves. Hey, thank you guys for being active in the chat line. I'm sorry. I'm showing there was some chat disconnected issues on the YouTube side, but hey, yeah, I apologize. Rags, I appreciate that. You came in late. Hey, it's totally fine. Power and presence. At least you were present. So guys, hey, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. As you know, I always like to bring in special guest hosts, you know, and a lot of you were hitting me up saying, hey, yo, you need to break from this bros with mics. Okay. You need to break with this bros with mics. But you know what? There are other senior leaders out there who are females.
And we might still be bros with mics.
Yeah. And we're still bros with mics though. That's why it's in the title, because we're still bros with mics. But guys, no, I definitely appreciate you guys tuning in. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Hey, I want to thank you, Rachel, for coming over here, you know, on your busy schedule, you know, and
No
our people, we're talking to your people, and it took some negotiations, you know. Hopefully next time you're not going to be so challenging.
I hate the leather seat color. We're going to have to change that, by the way.
Yeah, now we know a different headset, right?
Yeah, no, this thing's huge.
No,
Jesus,
hey,
my head's not that big.
Used to, I guess it's used to Army soldiers sitting
this,
there. That's
yeah.
why. It's an Army thing. It's an Army thing.
Struggling. I
We
feel like
just
I'm
make it
at
work.
that crappy audiology test. It's like click when you hear the beep and you're like panic clicking
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I just had to do my vision today, and I have to do my hearing next
Oh,
week.
geez.
So I sit in a little booth. Dude.
I just did that like 2 weeks ago.
Oof. You're Med Pros, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you guys call it, Med Pros?
So it's for my officer commission.
Oh.
I had to read, like, you basically have to go in like you're re-entering the military. So you have to redo the audiogram. And I was like sitting there like, I'm like, well, yeah, my ears ring. I've been in 12 years, like trying to disconnect the ringing from the toning. And it was a whole thing. But anyways.
Well, I appreciate that. Hey, happy birthday, number 5. I see that. Grizzly. Happy birthday, number 5. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and end it tonight, team. As you know, thank you guys all for tuning in. There's power and presence. You guys demonstrated that tonight. I look forward to our next episode, guys, on Thursday. And with that being said, guys, hey, if you're watching on YouTube, definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe, be part of the team. It's free. Have a good time. Hey, next one, we got something to talk about. But I'm going to wait till Thursday. I'll bring this one into you guys. In the meantime, guys, you guys already know, Comfort and Chaos team, do your push-ups, take your vitamins, drink your water, and most importantly, guys, continue mission, that mission of life. Be a better version of yourself every day. Chase opportunity. Don't hesitate to create a memory, someone. All right? I'll see you guys in the next one. Night, team.